各位观众、听众朋友，大家好。我上一段视频呢是昨天晚上制作的，但是后来因为太累就睡着了。昨天晚上制作好了以后呢，我就给那个各大媒体写信。那可能很多人、其他人也给写，反正大家一起来写信吧。我这个也见到了效果。那他终于那 CNN 报道了上海这个人民抗暴这个事情，主要是上海的一些大学生外地在上海的一些大学生，他起来抗暴。这年轻人的这个勇敢呢，看起来跟89年也没有太大的差别啊。那个中老年人咱们就不要指望他了，看起来年轻人，而且里边很多还是女的，这个非常让我感动。现在呢，国际主要的媒体除了 CNN 呢，还有 CNBC、德国之声等等各大主要的国际媒体呢，都报道了这件事情。所以呢，这对国内的人呢，对墙内的人呢，也是一个很大的鼓励。这种情况下呢，如果再出来那种什么说怪话的、拖后腿的，没用啊！有的那个自诩自己是反贼，一天到晚的没用，一连串就没用。中国人呢换谁也没用。那加拿大的，让我看，我觉得他是最没用的。每次中国山崩地裂发一堆牢骚，说一些怪话，然后十几分钟结束了，今天节目就到这里就拉倒了，什么事也不做没有任何意义。所以大家不要听信他的，而且他舔台，大家看看台湾媒体，人家连提都不提你台湾媒体整天就在那自己那个什么小选举呢，整天9合1什么选举呢，人家连讲都不讲你就看出来。你知道为什么我对台湾人有看法，就明白了吧？他的普世价值观没有像那个其他主要国家，特别西方国家那么强烈。很多情况下呢，基本上就可以，尤其对大陆人就是见死不救来形容。所以为啥我对台湾人有看法？很多人都不理解，现在明白了吧？不是你傻呵呵的一厢情愿的那个想法，不是那样的大家看，这是那个 CNN 报道的截图，而且 CNN 呢还做了那个现场的那个叫什么直播，这个是它主要的有2段，一段是直播，一段是那个4分多钟的新闻。在力所能及的范围内呢，我总觉得你要是真反贼的话呢，运用你的知识技能，然后让这个事情呢能让它传遍全世界，这是一个好事儿。所以呢，我就给新恩写了信。那我觉得有努力呢就会有回报那其他人可能人家也有贡献，应该是大家呢写的人多了，他就报道了，就这么回事新恩的这个记者呢，他也是所谓华人也是甚至就是中国大陆出去的他是那个姓王小姐是这样，所以他很关注这个新闻。那下面呢，我就给大家播放这个新闻原版的新闻最后那一段呢，引用的是一个美国那个防疫专家的话他表示说这个中国的清零政策呢是不可能再持续的。
But also this. Videos from Shanghai earlier today showing protesters being roughed up and dragged away by police. People can be heard yelling, "Release them." As CNN's Selena Wang is in Beijing. Selena, what is happening there? What is the latest?
Paula, what we are witnessing right now, it's an extraordinary, historic moment in China. These protests are breaking out across the country, from here in the capital in Beijing to elite college campuses to other major metropolises and even far-flung cities. This is an unprecedented level of public dissent since Xi Jinping took power a decade ago. What we're seeing is people past their breaking point. It's years of pent-up anger. This is 3 years of draconian lockdowns that have cost people's lives, their livelihoods, but the trigger for this wave of protests was a deadly fire in Xinjiang that killed at least 10 people. Videos of the scene indicated that COVID restrictions prevented victims from getting help. But these protesters, not just angry about COVID lockdowns, they're also targeting their anger towards the supreme leader himself. This protest scene in particular is extraordinary. Let's just take a listen to it again.
下台！下台！下台！
Paula, that is people in Shanghai calling Xi Jinping to step down over and over again. Those chants go on for quite some time. They're also calling for the Communist Party to step down. I can't overstate just how shocking it is to hear this crowd in Shanghai, China's wealthiest and most cosmopolitan city, and that chanting happening in a central upscale part of the city, to be directly calling out for Xi Jinping to resign. I mean, this is virtually unheard of. And in China, it is extremely dangerous to publicly criticize the party, especially Xi himself. You risk prison time or even worse. Some protesters also chanted they don't want COVID tests, they don't want dictatorship, they want freedom and democracy. Witnesses told CNN as well that rows of police officers were making arrests, forcefully pushing protesters into police cars. But the next day on Sunday, hundreds of Shanghai residents returned to continue protesting despite heavy police presence and roadblocks. Videos also showed some protesters violently dragged away, and now that area has been mostly cordoned off. But what we're seeing is this tipping point across the country after years of suffering and deaths during lockdowns because people struggle to get food, necessities, and emergency care in lockdown, Paula.
A remarkable scene indeed. Of course, we don't realistically expect Xi Jinping to step down, but is there any sign that the government might back down on some of these restrictions?
Well, the government is in a difficult place right now because COVID cases continue to surge, continue to rise. And the party's line has been that they need to keep zero COVID because it's protecting the vulnerable elderly population where the vaccination rates are still lagging behind. But after that fire in Xinjiang, after there were protests in Xinjiang and across the country, the government did say it was going to start to relax some of the COVID lockdowns there. But at the same time, you have state media publishing headlines that are basically doubling down on zero COVID, saying it is the best policy for China. And I just want to reiterate that fire in Xinjiang, Paula, it really triggered people's worst nightmares here, because it's really the idea that any one of us here in the country could have been stuck in a lockdown building while a fire is raging, unable to get out or to get help.
Terrifying. Selena Wang, thank you so much for your incredible reporting. Appreciate it. And the White House reacting a short time ago to the situation in China. The White House COVID response coordinator saying China's strict COVID lockdown policy isn't realistic. President Biden's chief medical advisor, Anthony Fauci, also saying today he was baffled why China wasn't accepting foreign vaccines instead of relying on medications that were less effective.